A few moments for the multiple timelines to coalesce, for everybody to kind of sink back into their body. Someone out there is going to put a random series of numbers in the chat, proving that they can hear my voice. Yes, it's true. A candy-colored clown they call the Sandman. Absolutely. Come on in, you guys. We're back, live from the multi-dimensional trailer park. Suddenly I realized this rock thing was true. Jerry Lee Lewis was the devil, and Jesus was an architect previous to his career as a prophet. I found myself in love with the world, and so there was only one thing I could do. Do a live stream, Sunday afternoon, February 18th, 2024. Anyway, it's good to see you. Hello, everyone. We are back. We're on a really weird timeline right now. We got Mario Maharas in the house. Thank you for showing up on our timeline today, sir. How's it going?
It is going good. Thank you for having me on again. I love talking with you. And
Totally.
Mhm.
Thank you for asking. Thanks for being present. Thank you for bringing relevant information to our multidimensional community. And so I'm going to start out by saying hello, everyone in the chat. If you can, while you are here, you guys, if you can open up a second window, because you know how like YouTube on your mobile phone now will let you kind of minimize the window so you can hear this playing. I'm going to ask everybody to open up another window, leave this playing, and head over to Unscripted Liberation Codes. That's Mario's YouTube channel, correct? Enter
Yes.
in Unscripted Liberation Codes on YouTube, and I'm going to ask you directly, please, right now, subscribe to his channel. A lot of us in our multidimensional community over the last, I would say, year or so, been about maybe a little bit longer, but for me, over the past year, I think the words and the posts and the level of activation of astrological knowledge and just the manner in which Mario kind of charts this current, process of whether you want to call it awakening or movement or change or activation in our multidimensional soul group right now, I think is second to none in terms of the manner in which he's just kind of taking the pulse of what's going on in our kind of multidimensional worlds, whether it be through, the planets, whether it be through his experiences as a human, whether it be through a lot of really weird things that happen in the dream world. And so one of the things I really enjoyed doing on this channel from time to time is just bringing back people whose energy I think is really impacting people. And, like I said, people that have their finger on the pulse. And if there's one thing I have noticed in our current multidimensional soul group is that a lot of those people don't always get seen. They don't always get noticed. We're sort of living in a world right now in which portrayal is often recognized as authenticity, and authenticity is often seen as something, a little bit questionable or frightening. And I think on some level, that's because a lot of people don't know what the real thing looks like. And so I think one of the things we've done really well with doing on our channel is bringing forth people that I feel are real and relevant, have something to offer the community. And so anyway, before I rant on and on, tell us a little bit about your recent world. What have you been going through over the past few months? And yeah, I guess we'll just start from there. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, 2023 was a crazy fucking year. Lot of different upgrades and challenges. I moved my family and I from California to North Carolina, and that was a huge mission. We bought a house, then sold a house, then bought a different house, And so all of 2023 was basically like completely unstable and just moving. And it was just kind of really hard and tricky to find a routine. And it was a really amazing year because the astrology was like so parallel to exactly what was going on in my life. And it was amazing. And, I'm so glad that I have astrology to, have that level of awareness and understanding when I'm going through any kind of turbulence or, flow of abundance and how to navigate that.
Yeah.
In 2023, we bought a house with my fiance's sister and brother-in-law, and all good tensions went into buying this house, but once we actually moved in together, we found out that we are really not compatible. Like, they are super low vibe frequency, like very super low vibe frequency, and just like constant projections and can't see themselves at all, and just like very distorted and twisted. And in 2023 last year, we had some major intense pressure cooking transits that really put everybody through a level of initiation and having to face conflict and rise above it through embodying an integration of all of the self-love we've been doing over the past few years. And so, we bought this house, and right when Uranus and Venus were making a square in Taurus and Leo, which is like money and values and relationships, drama broke out in our household with a broken air conditioner and how we all managed it and
That'll
communicated.
really do it though, right? That'll piss a lot of people
Something
off.
simple like that. The air conditioner broke, and how we were, respecting one another to handle this very simple issue, was huge. And so we were tested this year of like, okay, can we do this? Like, can we live the next 10 to 20 years with these people? Or are we just going to just cut it? Are we just going to cut it and end it? Even though it took us 2 years to manifest this house, it took us almost a year to officially end our lives in California and move over here. Like, was it all for nothing? And so
That's a major process, right? Like I think a lot of people they don't understand how big of a move that is. But anyway, go on.
Huge fucking process. And so for Shelly and I, I'm really proud of ourselves because even though we put all our energy in manifesting it and making it happen, we weren't afraid to say not good enough. We have, as much as we love this big ass house and the property and where we're at, like, not good enough. We need to shut it down. And yeah, it was kind of scary not knowing if we were going to land in another home that was going to be right for us. We didn't know if we were going to be in a super shitty ghetto ass trailer park or, a small apartment or whatever, but it was a time for us to say, you know what? We need to come up to these people and tell them this isn't working out for us. We need to, end this, and for them, it was like the world was ending. What? No. And then drama and money and legalities became a huge problem. But
Totally.
Being an astrologer, the drama started for us back in May. And Shelly was like, oh my God, what the fuck are we going to do? What's going to happen? And I'm like, listen, babe, we have to wait till Virgo season. I was like, Leo season, we can get petty and start fucking talking shit towards one of another because, Leo season, that's how we do it. It's petty. But when Virgo season comes around, that's when we're going to have enough data to present the receipts as to why this isn't working out. And logically, we need to just go our own way. And then Libra is when we have the conversations of like, okay, what's fair? What do we do? Where do we go? How can we come together in a diplomatic format? Where everyone gets their piece of the pie. And then Scorpio season was the death and the transformation. Okay, the house has sold. And I honestly like called it all play by play, season by season. I was like, babe, don't trip, baby, don't trip. Like the money's gonna come, the right place is gonna come, but right now is not it. And so that's why I just love astrology and being so involved in the transits for as long as I have, like it's really, the human in me still goes like, I don't know. But at the same time, I have enough experience to say, trust and surrender.
I hear you.
But
did my audio just change there? Sorry for that random thing. It looked like, yeah. Anyway, go ahead if you can still hear me. I think my audio shut down and turned back on. That was weird. Anyway, I feel you though. So to me, it's really interesting that you're able to look at, which I think is honestly a very smart thing to do, which I tend to just follow the flow of, consciousness with, but it's cool that you're able to look at that and go, okay, we can't do this until Virgo season. And then, we're going to get weird at this stage. And then finally, toward the end of the year that shows up and you were able to, transition out of there. But tell us a little bit, like, what is it like now? So you guys moved into a different area, you kind of left behind, whatever was happening, in that whole scene. Have you noticed anything has changed? Have you noticed like maybe there's been different challenges? Because I think a lot of us right now, it's like you and I were talking at the end of 2023, a lot of us in our kind of soul group suddenly did this thing where we're like, oh my God, I have to do this. I have to fix this thing. And I have to, you know, for me, I was like, I have to heal these things really quick right now. Other people had to move. Other people had a relationship thing. Other people had this or that. And so now that we're kind of sort of on the other side of it, how is it now? And what's been happening since?
Yeah. Well, we got an amazing property, you know, a little over an acre. It's a 2-bedroom mobile home, but we can build a house on here, you know. We were able to buy it cash, the whole thing up front, no mortgage, no rent. It's got a
Oh, yeah.
4-bedroom
There you go.
septic built into the land. So, you know, now that we're here and all of 2023 was literally moving and unstable, we're finally able to ground and get into some kind of routine. And in that process, you know, daily health and wellness is like the main focus now. Where going towards the end of 2023, you know, in order to get a job, I had to detox from marijuana.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and in that process, I started taking like niacin, golden seal, and
Talk a little bit about that. That's also a thing. Sorry to interrupt instantly, but that's a big theme for everybody. You and I talked about this before we started. I also have done the same thing. I know a lot of other friends are like, yeah, you know, it turns out I was smoking weed for 15 years. It wasn't killing me, but all of a sudden I had to stop. And it's like we have to go through this trauma, and it's like a death of a piece of yourself, and all kinds of weird feelings come out. I know Selena's in the chat. Hello, Selena. She was also dealing with that. And it's like, dude, I know you kind of go crazy, but yeah,
Mhm.
how is that? How is that now?
Now it's good. Like my relationship with marijuana has definitely shifted. I feel a lot more in control than before,
Yeah.
whereas I was just a habitual unconscious smoker. Like, oh, time to pack a bowl or time to roll
Right.
a joint. Puff, puff, puff. I'm gonna go to bed. Puff, puff, puff. You know, I'm gonna watch a movie. Puff, puff, puff. You know,
Right.
I'm gonna go on a hike. Let me pack this bowl before the hike.
Totally.
Let me pack another bowl during the hike. You know, just like very habitual and unconscious with it. And now I'm at this point where, you know, I'm able to pause before smoking weed and say, okay, am I smoking? Is this part of that habitual pattern, or am I consciously like ready to do this? And
Yeah.
so the frequency of it and my relationship with it has changed a lot. And you know, it's weird that like how we were talking before, that what prompted me to take a break from marijuana right now was getting this job, and then going through a rapid detox with the golden seal and the live pine and the
Yeah.
niacin. And this year, like my digestion and cleansing has become a really big prominent theme, and that seems like a regular trend going along with all of us here.
Yeah.
And over the last few weeks, I've been feeling into it and thinking into it about how Pluto's shifted into Aquarius,
Yeah.
because before Pluto was in Capricorn, and Capricorn governs the skeletal system in the body, the bones, primarily the knees. The kneecap is really Capricorn, but the bones, the structure. So, you know,
Yeah.
because in astrology, Capricorn represents structures, you know, solid things, systems. And so in the body, Capricorn governs the skeletal system, the bones in the body, but mainly the knees. And so Pluto, being the planet of death and rebirth and transformation and like
I love
deep,
Pluto for some reason. I always have. I don't even know why.
you know, so for the last 15 years, like I'm like analyzing my body, because you know I remember when Pluto entered Capricorn, it felt like my back hurt the whole time, you know? Like I was 18 years old and Pluto's in Capricorn, all of a sudden my back fucking hurts, you know? And it seemed like that back pain never went away, you know? And I feel like that Pluto in Capricorn really started this process of activating a lot of more of the original DNA template,
Yeah.
through applying massive amounts of pressure in the muscle skeletal system of the body. And now that Pluto is done being in Capricorn, it's going to that intensity and that pressure on the body, on the bones, is going to ease up. And with Pluto and Aquarius, Aquarius is all about frequencies and the mind and intelligence and thoughts. So I feel like, with Pluto now out of Capricorn, our bodies are like relaxing in a different way and needing to detox to get
Yeah.
adjusted and assimilate in the new higher multidimensional cosmic frequencies we're going to be more aware of as Pluto continues to progress in Aquarius. So
Huh. Where do you see that going? And I realize this is a big question that I'm instantly dumping on you, but last time you were here, I'll be real, and I know you and I know this because I ended up messaging you later. But last time we did this whole show, and I was like, "Yeah, there's this eclipse. Oh my god, it's coming right there!" And it literally took me like 3-4 days, and I was like, "Oh yeah, what the fuck?" Like, oh, you know what I mean? It like hit me later on for some reason, but I have been noticing, and I don't know, maybe this is reflected in the current, alignments or transits, but it does feel like there's a ramping up. Something is accelerating, and I guess if anyone out there doubts this, literally, it's closing on the end of February already. It seems
Mhm.
like last week we just were, Happy New Year, and it's like there's such a crazy acceleration coming. What do you think that's leading us to? I know a lot of people, we kind of talked about it last time. I'll get weird and crazy. Like, is it a civil war? Is it a great upheaval? But like, now that it's been a month or so, what do you see coming down the line for us?
Yeah. Well, we have the Great American Eclipse that's coming up in April. So April 8th this year, we're going to have a total solar eclipse that's going to pass through America,
Yeah.
Mexico and America. The last total solar eclipse that we had pass over America was last year in April.
Yeah.
So for two total solar eclipses to pass over America in 1 year is very rare. The one in 2023 came this way and crossed through Texas over the border into Mexico. The
Mhm.
one coming in 2024 is coming up the other way and also crossing over that same it's making an X mark where
Yeah.
the one last year made, so it's coming up. But then there was another great American total solar eclipse that happened in 2017.
That was a big one for me. Yeah.
Huge. So that one came up from the Pacific Northwest and went all across America and came out through the southeastern end of the country. So what's happening with the eclipse coming up in 2024, as it's going to line up, it's going to cross over those two previous solar eclipse lines, which is going to form an anarchy symbol. So this is, yeah, it's super interesting. I was listening to this other guy's podcast breaking down the information, and I need to listen to it again, but he was going way out there about
Yeah.
like the Antichrist and things like that. And
Oh, I want to ask you about that in a second, but go ahead. Go ahead. Finish that. You just help me remember something. Go ahead.
yeah, so really, really interesting stuff going on. This year is definitely going to be a one to remember. It's an election year. We're supposed to be voting for a new president this year. But the fact that last year's solar eclipse and this year's solar eclipse have made that X point over the border in Texas and Mexico is really huge. And when I shared with you last month, it didn't hit you until a few days later of like what I was saying about what's happening.
Literally didn't, dude. I don't know why. I had to look at it for myself, and then I was like, "Oh my god, that's right there." What? And anyway, but
Yep, yep. So, we're having a massive border crisis right now, and specifically that town in Texas. There's hundreds of thousands of people that are crossing into the border every single day. So I think, like last month we were talking about, I was saying that it could possibly mean the starting point that will take many years in the process, but the starting point of these governing countries beginning to shift boundaries in territory. So we're things are gonna change, like where I don't know, maybe Mexico will gain Texas back or something like that. I have no idea, but boundaries and how we're going to handle this border crisis and everything, I think it's going to go through a total transformation by
I agree.
yeah.
I certainly agree with that. And I guess I'll just ask the question. I know you had some other stuff to talk about, but I remembered something that I've actually been wanting to ask a lot of people about this, and you kind of hit on it with the Antichrist thing. And it's funny because somehow that's been, you know how the YouTube AI will kind of choose certain things to send you, and you never really know why. Sometimes it's because you were thinking of them, sometimes because you search for it, but every now and then it's like they just send you some random thing, and it's like, what the, and it just sticks out. And one of the things, the AI has been sending me lately is weird stuff about who is the Antichrist, where is the, just this general Antichrist sensationalized info. And I guess first off, I just kind of want to get your opinion on this. What's your feeling about this Antichrist idea? Is it a person? Is it many people? What, because there's a lot of opinions about it. Is it even a real thing? Is it what do you feel about this Antichrist?
Good question. Really, really good question. I think it's multiple people. Because apparently in biblical terms they are legion. You know what I mean? They are a legion of a demonic force. So I don't think the Antichrist is one person. If I were to guess who the one Antichrist would be, fucking Bill Gates. You know, because he's just got his hands in everything and completely distorting it, the food, the water, the technology,
Kind of makes sense.
yeah. But I'd say that I'd say the Antichrist is a consciousness that's birthed and is playing itself through many, many forms. I don't know if there's actually one individual that's born as the Antichrist. And if we, I'm sure you're familiar with who Max Spears is.
Yeah,
He's a super
really.
soldier who did a lot of talking. And one of the things he talked about was that I believe it was in the 70s or the 80s where, the shadow government was looking for women born with a particular genetic sequence, and they were basically trying to through satanic rituals, conceive and birth an antichrist.
Yep.
So who knows where the results of all that shit went? If they were doing that with multiple women, maybe multiple women birth an antichrist. But
Interesting idea.
very, 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 very interesting. But what's cool for me is like when I think about all that stuff, like I don't really get scared. I don't really get alarmed. I kind of laugh at all these people. The whole. Yes, there's a lot of fucked up things that they are doing, but they're so weak and insignificant. They can't do what we do. You know what I mean? Like I can literally sitting right here, go into a trance, produce a release of DMT in my brain, and have a multidimensional
Oh
experience.
yeah.
And download cosmic codes and enter this extreme bliss. They can't do that. They don't know how to do that. They only know how to do that in distorted ways with harvesting adrenochrome and trauma.
Right.
And so they don't have the divine in them. So yeah, it's
That's a
yeah.
good observation. I
Mhm.
I tend to agree. I know that maybe because I get super obsessive about stuff. I guess I'm one of those people. A lot of people know this. And I think for those of us that operate or work on a dedicated level with spiritual energy, I think we have a responsibility to educate ourselves in what we would call the ways or, the mindset of evil, however you choose to define that word. And I actually have done a lot of thinking and a lot of, meditation and a lot of kind of just looking at what at least through my idea, I've done a lot of it, examination of the concept and the energy of the Antichrist. And, not that that means anything, but I tend to agree. I think one thing that was shown to me early on, and maybe I'm saying this so I can get, your idea about it and other people in the chat, what was shown to me early on was that the Antichrist is essentially a frequency that people's consciousness will tune into, very much like a radio station. And when we tune into that frequency, it allows each and every person who engages in that vibration to essentially become the Antichrist. And what it was shown to me was similarly to, you know, what other people will call, you know, maybe the polar opposite of that, the so-called Christ consciousness. And, the supposed second coming of Christ was actually a frequency that was born within, you know, the soul essence and kind of transmitted through us. And so I don't know if that's true. I just remember, you know, really sitting with that and going, so this is a frequency that we tune into, and that each and every person, based upon our kind of alignment and belief systems and the way we're operating the world, everyone can choose to embody that energy, or we can choose to embody the other one. And I don't know if that's true, but what do you think about that? Because I kind of don't think it's one person. I think that it could be all these people. And I guess, you know, if you look at what a lot of other kind of influential so-called people say, somebody who a few years was like, it's Obama's Antichrist.
Mhm.
Somebody was like, oh no, it's what was that guy that was married to Ivanka Trump, that one dude, Jared, you know, whatever. They're like, he's actually the Antichrist. And then they were like, I saw this one video that had like 5 million hits, and it was like, it's actually the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. He's the Antichrist. And then there was this other one I was going by on Twitter, and it was like, oh, it turns out we now know the Antichrist is Elon Musk. And it's like everyone's assigning this role across the board to any sort of megalomaniacal, overly controlling, charismatic, and also potentially benevolent energy. And to me, I think that's a sign that all of those people will hold that frequency, and even you and I, if we should choose. And anyway, I grossly overstated that, but what do you think?
I agree. I agree with Antichrist energy being a frequency, because I've been in it. You know,
Right?
growing up in, you know, highly dysfunctional ghetto, low vibration of Los Angeles. You know,
Oh yeah.
my parents growing up were fucking crack addicts. Like, I remember as a kid watching them fucking spending all their money on fucking drugs and getting loaded. You know, they're better now, but that was the environment I grew up in. And they were in gangs. I used to see fights and all kinds of shit all the time, you know. And so I had a lot of fucked up things within me, absorbing that as an empath, you know, as a sensitive being. And, you know, you have a choice growing up in the wild. Either you fucking, you know, develop a tough persona to protect yourself, or you completely become over afraid of everything, that you're just a little bitch, you know, like you're completely defeated and you're a little bitch, you know. And I mean that with respect, because I was also really bullied in school. Middle school was horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was bullied by, you know, young gangsters that got initiated in gangs through their older brothers and sisters, where every day for me, I was getting punched in the face or like jumped by other guys, until I made the decision, like, you know what, enough of this. And I started working out, and I started, you know, changing. I started listening to different music. I created a whole different persona, you know. And then I got into drugs. I got into you know, and that's why some podcasters won't let me on their show, because I'll say shit like,
Oh no, I think it's actually good that you do, and this is a good place for that, because nobody lets me on their show either.
Yeah.
Like, perfect, fuck it, you know. Yeah.
But, you know, I got into drugs. I got into crystal meth, and at like age 14, and I got into crystal meth, and I was listening to black metal music, and like really like disturbing death metal music, where they would make songs like "Kill Your Mother" and "Rape Your Dog." You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I had completely engulfed myself in that negative vibration, where that Antichrist frequency did have a hold on me. It did have a hold on me, you know, and I felt it. Like, there were moments in my mind where like my thinking was very disturbed, but it wasn't me. You know what I mean? And so the heart is so important, because, you know, purely I am, you know, a pure divine starseed being, but I chose to be born in the belly of the beast, because in order to understand it, and in order to understand it and how to transmute it, You have to lose yourself and become it. And if you
Mhm.
can find your way through the other side, you're a fucking champion. You're a fucking
Right.
badass, you know? And that's what I did here. You know, I chose to be born in this family, in this city, in this country during this fucked up time, and to experience all this fucked up shit, go into these drugs. That's why I'm not ashamed or afraid to say about the different parts of me,
Yeah.
because I know, you know, what it was, and I forgive myself for it. But yeah, it's a total frequency, because
Yeah.
that frequency real like, and it's so easy. Like when that antichrist frequency has got its hooks in you, you become like, you become very powerful, and you know how to control people.
Yeah.
And so like I could have easily become, you know, a massive drug trafficker, and down,
Yeah.
you know, further down, more down these other ways. But you know, the light in me never died. You know, anytime I got busted by cops, the cops would always say, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing out here? Like, you obviously don't belong here. You are so different than these other jackasses that we're about to arrest. Like, go home, kid." You know.
Yeah.
Um,
I had a lot of that too, man. I feel you. Yeah.
and when I was about 22, 23, the year I got hit by cars is when I'm going to say my soul was saved. Basically,
Yeah.
it's when I got out of my head and back into my heart, and realized that I'm all ass backwards, inverted and distorted and hella perverted. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so I was like, okay, out of the head and back into the heart. And I had a massive fucking like heart opening away, to the point where I was even calling old friends and say, hey, remember back in the day when I was like, you know, hail Satan and all that shit, bro? Turns out, like, you know, that's not the way, man. And I'm sorry if I influenced you in any kind of negative way. I'm calling everybody to let them know that, you know, I'm a fucking dumbass and I love you. Bye.
Yeah, it's part of the journey. That's cool that you could even do that though. A lot, like I think most of us will go through some kind of an experience like that. I know that was, you sound very much like me at that exact same age. And you know, I'm not going to take up too much time on it because a lot of people on our channel know it, but I was probably just like you from the perspective that you were out there doing meth and I was like, oh, I had discovered heroin and cocaine, speedballs at that stage, and I got to spend a good 6-year period literally wandering around, you know, the town that we lived in, looking in windows of cars, you know, shitting myself on the corner, trying to hide from my mom and the cops that were looking for me everywhere, literally jumping in dumpsters, hallucinating, thinking that people
Yeah.
were coming to kill me. And I was literally hiding in a dumpster one day for about
Same.
8 hours straight, just like,
Same, bro.
you know. And so
Same,
it's
bro.
like I know that kind of insanity, but I also know that that is like that will be one of the early stage soul formation events that for a lot of us that come in, and it's like you come in and it's like, well, that stage is going to happen. And I think that's how it is for a lot of us. It's like we come in with these contracts and agreements and karmic things, and that means that for some of us at an early age will get addicted, others will get abused, others will be an abuser, others will commit a crime, some people will have a grave illness. Other people have heard me talk about this. I call it the maladies of the star seed, the
Mm.
pre-existing conditions and what we might call the multi-dimensional soul handicaps that we take upon ourselves prior to entering this realm. It's a rite of passage for some of us. And so it makes sense to me when I hear people like you and like me going, yeah, dude, the only way I got to where I am right now is because I had to come face to face with some kind of demonic aspect of myself that showed up at such an early age that everyone's like, oh my God,
Mhm.
he's going to be in prison. And luckily, you know, just like you, I never had to have that either. Came pretty close, but you know what I mean? We all got away from it somehow. I think that that's kind of that saying, you know, where people are like, one day your horror story becomes somebody else's survival manual.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's how
Yeah.
it has to be for a lot of us. But
And that's what makes us, you know, very unique and authentic healers for other people, and space holders for other people. And you
yeah,
know, when I was back in California, I was getting really frustrated with the spiritual communities out there. I love my friends. I love my friends.
yeah,
They're all good people, but it's very superficial and not really that deep. And all of these other folks that are coming in trying to be a guru or trying to, you know, be a master of some sort, they haven't even gone an inch into the depths that I was born into. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't even see the demon, man. You don't, and if you did see the demon, you wouldn't even know how to handle that demon. You know what I mean? Oh, your sound went off. Your sound went off.
Check, check.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we back? Whoa, weird. Okay, I gotta make sure that one's okay. Anyway, that you will see that constantly, and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like you will find the way within a certain like community, people will be valued and upheld, and you'll look at them and go, you have literally no idea what true suffering is. And what sucks about that is that doesn't make them invalid and us more valid. You know what I mean? It's always a twisted thing, but it's like you will feel that and you'll go, there's a completely different layer of internal knowledge and just, you know, depth that one will go through when you have to truly face a demon in yourself in some form or another. And most of them, for those that really know demons, you'll know they're aspects of us. It's like actually it's a fractal of you. And anyway, I feel you, man.
Yeah, you know, it's like, and people, you know, like, you know, these shamans, these modern day shamans, you know, they wear the attire, you know, so it's
Right.
like they know how to display the right Instagram photo to, you know, do that. And I identify myself as a shaman, but I don't display myself in I don't wear the different clothes or whatever. I speak a certain way. I say fuck and bullshit and don't be a little bitch and that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So like for me, the being a modern day shaman is, you know, well, first off, being a shaman is being able to bridge the multiple worlds and being able to see the truth through all of the different stories and perspectives that people create of their own hauntings. Like you were saying, like that demon is an aspect of yourself. And so, you know, some people will come up with these stories as to why they can't connect with women or why they feel this way and whatever, and they think that, you know, they're haunted in some kind of way, but yet they're totally unconscious that in the same day that they're praying and trying to change their lives, you know, an hour before that they spent 40 minutes jerking off to porn. You know what I mean? And like for some reason that part is compartmentalized and not connected to the greater issue of all their fucking problems. And I think, and for me, being a shaman is being able to fucking like not entertain and enable all of the bullshit stories that we come up with ourselves and go straight to the fucking point. Dude, the issue is this, man. Everything else is a story. You're not being haunted. You know what I mean? You're haunting yourself because you're not integrating and becoming conscious of this compartmentalized unconscious habit that's coming from rooted trauma, you know?
I fully agree. Oh,
And
man.
these, you know, these woke ass fuckboy shamans and fucking, you know, like they have no idea, you know. And so anyways.
Oh, I fully agree. Everyone's heard me say this. You guys, this is the only requirement for becoming a galactic shaman. All you got to do is ayahuasca by Friday, and on Monday, boom, you got a website, a Patreon group, and you're the main speaker at an upcoming conference, you know. And it's like, okay, you know, and then, you know, the energy fades in a few months, and you know, all that's left is, you know, whatever your physical appearance and the words that you've recorded from watching other people. You know, the story goes on. But I feel you, and then, you know, what's crazy is at the same time, then there's the whole other separate phenomenon of every once in a while it is a real demon, and sometimes it is an actual implanted force of energy. And then the day comes, and when you come face to face with something crazy like that, and it's like, oh, they're all true. You know. And I guess you and I talked about that a little bit before. We mentioned like kind of like the J Seal stuff. Do you want to mention a little bit about what you've been going through with that, or, you know, any of those other things?
Can I want to screen share real quick.
Yeah, I think you can, but if you can't, let me see. Let me know if you can't. We'll find a way. Okay, wait, can we? I think you can. Okay, wait, where's the sharing button? Thanks for hanging out, everybody, as I get really weird looking at my screen here. I think you can. There's nothing here that says you can't. Let me know if it works.
Yeah. So I'm sharing now.
Okay, cool. I didn't even see it happening. Let us know if it's, oh, there we go. I have to add it to the stage. Boom. Okay, I think everybody can see this, but let us know if you can.
Okay, so you guys see this picture here?
Yes.
So This is a channel piece of art. And Matthew, when I first met you at Dimensions of Disclosure, I showed you this picture.
It feels
And
very familiar. Yes.
so this picture is a channel piece of art. So when I really remove myself and go deep into a trance, I just like channel crazy fucking art. And this was one of them. I drew this with the colors and everything in like 40 minutes, no lie. And so what was going on at the time where I channeled this art piece was I was with an ex-girlfriend at the time who was MK Ultra sex kitten, ex-military crazy girlfriend that I was sent after my heart. um she was into polyamory, and I'm a monogamous guy, you know what I mean. And
I feel you.
I
Yeah.
was like, it's but at the same time, I don't want to be that guy, But so
No, I get you. Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, work with me on this, But she's like, no, I want to fuck everybody and everything. Anyways,
I feel you.
we took a trip in December when this was years ago. We took a trip in December to Ohio, from Oregon all the way to Ohio. And I was like, look, like, we're here because it's Christmas, and we're here to be with your family. Like, because the whole time she's like, oh, I want to go and see this guy that took my virginity, because,
Oh,
we
yeah.
made a promise that no matter who we're with, we're always going to fuck each other. And I'm like, that's bullshit. I was like, if that's your plan, I'll stay here and have Christmas with my family. Like, no. And so she's like, no, we're not going to do that. Anyways, she did it. Christmas Day, this woman was like, oh, I gotta take my mom's car to the car wash with her sister. And they're gone, right? They're gone. And I'm like, she fucking went to go, fuck that guy. And so it's Christmas Day, bro, and they're gone all fucking day. And I'm here with her family, and they're like, we're gonna go to grandma's house. And grandma's like, who's this guy? And he's like, that's China's girlfriend.
Right? Like, oh my God. Yeah.
And so when we get back to the house, and I'm in the room that we're staying in, and she's still gone, and it's already past midnight, not answering the phone, nothing. So I'm in high level stress and anxiety, and I'm like completely overloaded, different people, different state, far away from family. And so I go into this trance, and I start meditating, and I'm feeling the frequencies. And as I'm feeling the frequencies, I'm asking the questions. I'm like, this is not natural. This kind of behavior, this kind of treatment towards oneself and another human being is not natural. It's not inherently within us to do this kind of behavior. What happened? What is this? Yeah. What happened to this poor young woman's soul? What's going on here? What is going on with me? And as I was asking those questions, I was going deeper and deeper and deeper into trance. And you'll see, like, the part in the middle is the distorted, perverted, inverted matrix frequencies that started to come in. And so you see, these frequencies, they tried to come in natural, organic, geometric patterns, but they are not divine. They are distortion. So these patterns, they come in an ugly, distorted fashion. So I don't have the better clear picture, but you see, these are boobs. These are supposed to be tits, right here.
Okay,
these and these are eyes, and these swirlies here. This is the DNA. And the swirly that you see, this big middle is an opening in the DNA where a distorted programming through sexual trauma was inserted within the DNA, within the sacral chakra. And so all these colors is also distorted patterning. And then the face down here, this is the demonic energy that the demonic vampiric energy that feeds off of the sacral chakra. And so when I was going into this trance, like, I was just channeling this drawing. And then what came to me in understanding this is that this is a sacral chakra demon, a vampiric demon that has been conjured for hundreds of years through, secret organizations that have certain kinds of rituals. So this is the kind of demonic entities that they birth within the collective consciousness, and using, radio frequencies, cell towers, Wi-Fi, and all that stuff. These demonic energies are able to exist and move within the grid, and and other people that are weak and vulnerable, and also dealing with unaware traumas that they have passed down through their lineage. Because when the Crusades and the whole world was being raped in the name of God, that's when the massive programming was inserted through sodomy, through sodomizing men, women, and small children. That's when this sort of, opening entered into the consciousness of the humans and into the back of the brain. And it just perpetually creates itself through people. So, when I became aware of this, I was like, this is one of the motherfuckers I'm here to take down. We're doing it collectively. You know what I mean? I have 7 sisters, and unfortunately, some of my sisters went through horrible sexual abuse. You know what I mean? And so I've always taken upon myself as a warrior man that's here to protect women and children. You know what I mean? And so, like, even though it was fucked up, that experience and what she was doing, like, it served its purpose. And the purpose was, it put me on game on what we're dealing with, and how almost everybody, even in the spiritual communities, because we met at a spiritual, event, are all fucked up and distorted. And so people will be like, yeah, true love and the highest name is polyamorous. You know what I mean?
I have heard that. And then there's also a lot of people that are like, like when we finally meet all those aliens, you better get real comfortable with, sharing everybody. And it's like, I don't, part of me is like, I don't know. I reserve the right to decide whether or not that's an appropriate thing for each soul. I don't think it's something that was, I don't know. It's just something about that, the sort of like the dilution of sexual energy and the manner in which trauma is attached. It's just crazy. And anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off, because this is a deeply fascinating story. Please tell us, how did this end? What ended up happening with this? And like, where, what was the end result? Honestly, all this really, sorry, let me just say really quickly, that is a horrible situation to be in. I cannot imagine the type of emotional pain I would be in driving across the country with a woman or a partner of any type. And then it's like, I'm going to leave you with my family while I go have sex with my ex. And it's like, wait, what? And it's like, whoa, how do you cope with that kind of like a deep wound that's thrust upon you in such an instantaneous moment, and come out on the other side and go, I healed it, and now I'm better? I mean, obviously you have, because now you're going, look, here's what happened, man. It was wild, but how did it end up?
Well, eventually she came back, right? It was like 1:30 or whatever. She came back, and she came back like right when I got done with the drawing. And I was like, where you been? What have you done? And she just like wouldn't answer anything, And then her father booked like a really nice hotel resort in an indoor water park in Ohio. So we like went there the next day, and it was so awkward, so weird. And it took me all day for her to say it. I was like, look, don't fucking disrespect me like that. Like, I'm not an idiot. Just fucking say it. You did it. Own up to it. Say it, And then when she said it, when she finally owned up to it and said it, it really fucked me up. I went through it and I'm healed from it. But when that happened, in that moment, in my third eye, I saw, brilliant white light and a gold cord from my heart connected to source, and a pair of scissors come and snip that cord. And I felt this heart disconnect from this golden cord from source disconnect. And I actually got really sick after that, and got very depressed. And it took a long time for me to heal that and reconnect it. But this is what the testament of a real badass spiritual warrior is if you can go through something like that and not let your heart get defeated. So
and also not become evil on the other side of it,
Exactly. And when we came back to Oregon, I was like, well, I believe in the power of love, and that love can heal all. Love can build bridges upon any gap. So I'm going to forgive you for that. And how about we start over, And she was like, wow, really? And I was like, let's try it. But that was, weird that I did that. And a few months later, we just ended up breaking up because she was literally trying to kill me. The demon took over her. So we ended up moving into a pot farm where we got hired to take care of this pot farm. But the whole energy of that pot farm was really going bad because it was the year marijuana got recreational
right.
legal in Oregon. So money from everywhere was coming into Oregon to start mass producing marijuana. And we ended up getting jobs on a pot farm where the farmer was like going through his own demonic shit, where he was relapsing on crystal meth and doing all kinds of fucked up shit. His wife left him to go chase a twin flame, and then that's a whole other story. And the guy was like, restraining order, leave me alone, bitch. And it was crazy. And I'm in this house, right? And China is like really in the deep end where the demon has a hold of her. Like there was even a point where I'm trimming, bud. And, my homie fucking is looking at China and it's like, China, you got this crazy look in your eye and you're holding this fucking kitchen knife standing behind Mario. Are you fucking all right? And I'm like, what the hell,
Yeah.
So that was a trip. But going through things like that is really important to fall back to your own moral code and principles, even if it's stupid. So for me, it was forgiveness and unconditional love. You know what I mean? So like I'm practicing that no matter what happens. You know what I mean?
Which is a hard one to generate at times, right? It's the hardest thing to do.
Man. So even while I'm feeling really shitty and betrayed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at that pot farm, the day where we kicked her out of the farm, I woke up at like 5 a.m. and went out into the forest in Southern Oregon and just prayed and chanted for like hours before the sun came up. And then, long story short, I had a Christ conscious activation out there where when the sun rose over the mountains, this beam of light hit me, and I had this activation where I heard, this voice and angelic voices, and they're like, congratulations, because I went out there to pray for guidance and clarity. That's all I wanted. I just can I just get a little bit of clarity and some guidance on how to navigate through this clarity? Like, I don't want to be the one that's right. I don't want to show up to this space trying to be the one with the answers. Like, I don't even want to help any of them. I just want to help myself through this situation, please. And so I had this activation that's like, dude, congratulations. We're going to activate you because like you're doing the work even when shit is being, even when you're being shit on directly on your face,
Yeah.
And then that same year was when I had the stroke, when a lot of other things started going on. And then I had the brain tumors, so that whole experience with that woman was the start of my energy going way down and having to build myself back up. What I went through was not her fault, but it was the trigger of me going deep down and doing a lot of internal healing. Yeah.
Whoa, man.
Crazy, bro.
Dude, that's a hell of a journey. I mean, seriously, I'm deeply impressed that you could walk through that and not come out on the other side with some seething, burning, hateful resentment. And without going too much into it, I think I've sadly and also fortunately been on both sides of things vaguely similar to that in this life, and it has a very, very dramatic effect on just like your heart and your soul. And it just always shocks me, like people can come out on the other side and go, you know what, I realized that what I needed to do in that moment was forgiveness and compassion. Which I guess if you want to get technical, if you want to dive into the law of one, which everyone knows I love here, that's literally what they tell you. It's like in the end, we must learn to love every single thing about the darkness and the light. Yeah. And I guess ultimately understand that neither of them are ever going to go away.
No,
it's never going to go away. You're never going to destroy the light, which is a whole other conversation. But, everyone's always like, go toward the light, hold your light. And yes, light's a beautiful symbolic thing of righteousness and holy energy. But at the same time, there's also a whole other construct behind it. And, it can be equally misleading. And anyway, watch out. I'll just go down a whole other road with all that. But
yeah,
I appreciate it, man.
So 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 during one of those days before we gave her the boot, actually it was the day we gave her the boot, she trapped herself in this room, and everyone was like, Maro, you got to go in there and fucking, get her out. And I go in there and like straight demon talking to her, and she's like, don't talk to me unless what you're going to say is coming from the heart. And I was like, okay, this is weird. This is super weird. So then shaman took over me, and I transformed, where I entered this rare form, and my body did this whole different, like I started doing this tapping and got into this rhythm and making these sounds and noises with my mouth and whistles and stuff. And then boom, I became a different person. And I became a different person and was just like, this poor being, this person is severely wounded and traumatized. No matter what they did to me, I have to be a true light warrior and not be angry at her and forgive it, because I'm multidimensional as fuck. Like, so what? She did that to me. Like, that only hurts in the 3D plane, if you're young and want it to hurt. So I was like, this person needs a fucking healing. So, I laid down a blanket on the floor, and I got her to lay down, and then I went to her feet and put my hands on her feet and was helping move all of her pain out of her body. And then I asked for permission. I was like, do I have permission to place my hand on your stomach? Even though we'd been together for a while and I could have just done it or whatever. But the point is respect and boundaries and asking for permission. Because what I found out is that man who took her virginity is some weird old pervy dude that picked her up at her job when she was working at KFC as a teenage girl. And that man raped her, but got in her mind, because he knows how to get in her mind and condition her. You know what I mean? And so for her, she thinks it's this wonderful connection they have, but she doesn't understand the trauma that she's bearing and how she's distorted in her perception of it. So she was raped by this fucking man. And so I put my hand on her sacral. Yeah. And I closed my eyes, and then this weird paroxetic like wormy thing appeared. Yep. And the moment, like, it was coming really fuzzy and pixelated, and the moment it got really clear and I saw it, she moved my hand, and she was like, it hurts. And I was like, I fucking see it, So I got her back. I got her back briefly, but then the demon took over her again. And we had to fucking, like, it took like 4 of us to carry her and grab all her shit, put her in a truck, drop her off at the Greyhound station, bought her a ticket, and say, get the fuck out of here.
Wow. Hey, you know what? At least you did that much. I mean, seriously, you dropped. No, that's that's a respectful thing to do. But wow, wow. So you actually felt the energy moving in there. And then what's crazy is, I've encountered both within myself and with others that exact same phenomenon when you do finally address that energy. And it will feel, for those of you guys out there that maybe have had similar experiences, that it's like some weird worm or something, and you'll feel it literally moving under your skin, inside your body. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will be like, oh, what? That's crazy. There's no possible. That's ridiculous. And then one day you will experience the phenomenon, and you will know forevermore that actually that's literally real. And yeah, it's wild, man. For everyone out there that's watching, that's a really good example of, and some of you guys have heard this term, sexual misery implantation, which is not always a device. Sometimes it's a literal energy or a parasitic being or a little kind of wormy, non-physical thing that will literally sit in your body and metastasize and start to become real. And it creates distorted sexual behaviors. It causes people to do all kinds of crazy shit. It's a very insidious thing. And if you want to get technical, you see it all over the place. Pop stars, you know what I mean? Like famous people, celebrities, politicians. If anyone wants to get a good example, I'm going to say a crazy thing here. If you want to look at what a sexual misery implantation or attachment looks like, look at the Drake. Drake is a good example of that. That dude Drake. You can look back on what happened with R. Kelly. He was another really good example of a sexual misery implantation and full attachment possession situation. There's a lot of people. A good person to look at for true distorted sexual misery energy, if you want to look in the United States government, look at Adam Schiff is a really good one. There's a couple other people. Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, is a really good example of that. I guess who cares if we're naming those names? Nobody really cares, but you will learn to see it and spot it. And it's a crazy thing, man. Crazy thing.
Mhm.
Anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, do you think there's anything we need to know about the astrological alignments that are coming up? I know that's an awkward lane change, but I want to ask you that before we get too far down the road, because I know we had a little bit of a comment prior to starting the show about that there was maybe a couple things, and who knows, maybe that doesn't even matter now. But I was just curious, is there anything coming up that you see is bringing change or upheaval or just anything?
Well, today is the last day of Aquarius season. The sun is currently at 29 degrees Aquarius, and the moon is currently at 27 degrees Gemini. So before the sun moves into 0 degrees Pisces, the moon in Gemini and the sun in Aquarius are going to make an exact trine in air signs. And now this is really interesting because the beginning of Aquarius season started with both Pluto and Aquarius going into Aquarius at 0 degrees. Pluto is still in Aquarius at 0 degrees. So we have Pluto holding down the fort at the very beginning of Aquarius, while the sun, the light, our conscious spirit, is at the tail end of Aquarius. And in between that, we have Mercury in Aquarius, the mind. We have Mars in Aquarius, our action, our assertiveness, our passion. And then we have Venus in Aquarius also, which is our heart, our value system, our interpersonal relationships. And with the moon being our emotional intelligence, our subconscious, the moon is how we psychically, empathically connect with one another. So with the moon being in Gemini being a very cerebral sign, very logical, very intellectual. Gemini is that energy within everybody. It's that part of the brain where pieces of information are starting to connect. Like if somebody ever gave you directions on how to do something, the moment someone's giving you the directions, your brain is like, I don't know, new information. How do I organize it? But then when you get hands-on and start doing it, the connection starts to happen and it makes sense. And then you are able to develop the skills from the given information. So with the moon in Gemini right now, our minds are organizing so much information that is connecting to all of the upgrades we are now receiving going into this Aquarian energy. And so, for example, everything that we spoke about before, what I'm saying now, I've never said it in the way that I have just said it. That whole story of what I said, what I shared to you, I've never said it in that clear, perfect way before. It was always crazy because my mind was still organizing everything, even though it was years ago. But now I'm coming into this point with the moon in Gemini, making these aspects to Aquarius where it's all organizing and all of that. See, what's different about me sharing it today versus years ago is now I know. And that's what Aquarius is. Aquarius is I know. So now I have a definite knowingness. I know what I went through. I know that I dealt with the Antichrist frequencies in my own life. I know that this bitch was fucking possessed by a demon. I know that what I channeled was a fucking demon. You know what I mean? And so with the moon and Gemini aspecting this Aquarian energy right now, all of our brains are making connections with the informations from the experiences we've all been through over the last 12 to 15 years. So moving forward, What's also occurring right now as the moon in Gemini is making these connections with all of the Aquarian energy is that the North Node in Aries is exactly conjunct with Chiron in Aries. So Chiron is the wounded healer. It's the shaman.
That
Chiron.
feels important for me somehow. I'm like, I don't know. Every time I hear Chiron, I'm always all, yeah, whoa. But anyway, go on.
Well, I mean, what you do, what you practice is very Chiron in nature. It's
Right. Oh
healing
God.
reality.
Yeah.
So, Chiron is an asteroid that sits within the asteroid belt. So, the inner planets, so we have the inner planets and then there's Saturn, and Saturn is the ruler of everything within that. And then once we get to the planets past Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, that's when we move out of the physical plane and start going into more higher cosmic, galactic, multidimensional energies. But the distance from Saturn to the next planet, Uranus, is very great. The distance is very great. And so there is a rainbow bridge, and that rainbow bridge is Chiron. So
Okay.
Chiron is the rainbow bridge that takes us through experience of trauma that we go through in reality and takes us through this multidimensional rainbow galactic ayahuasca trip into the higher frequencies. So Chiron is very shamanic. Chiron is the medicine. Chiron is the ayahuasca, the bufo, the mushrooms to help you remove the gravity of the physical plane that's governed by Saturn, which is not friendly. Saturn is very stern and
Actually,
tough.
wait. Is this is a dumb question. I'm sorry. For some reason I have never felt that Saturn was this evil force, that it was this horrible, like punishing energy. Is that even realistic? Because I don't know. Every time I hear people do this Saturn thing, I'm always like, I don't know, I don't know, I just feel Saturn. I also feel Pluto at the same time, and everyone's like, oh my God, Pluto, and it's like, is that just me, or like, what are the good
No,
elements? What's
that's
the high
very
vibrational part?
realistic, and I'm glad that you said that because when I say Saturn's not friendly, the best way to explain it is bringing up Jupiter and how different Jupiter is compared to Saturn. So Jupiter is the planet of luck and fortune and spiritual protection and long distance travel. If you're ever stuck in a rut and you just need a fucking handout, then you petition to Jupiter. Jupiter, the fucking IRS is at my ass and I don't know how I'm going to come up with the money. Fucking give me a handout. You know what I mean? Uncle Juke's going to be like, all right, man, let me just pump out the check and, don't worry. Some way or another, like that blessing, that spiritual protection is coming your way. Whereas Saturn,
so that's a Jupiter thing.
that's Jupiter.
That's wild, because I actually had that experience last year where I had to resolve a bunch of. So I'm like, I wonder if it was when Jupiter was. Anyway, that's just me kind of like looking back on, so that's a Jupiter process.
Jupiter's the handout. Jupiter wants to just bless everybody with abundance and gifts, but can overdo it sometimes. Saturn, on the other hand, let's say you're going through that same situation and you try to petition to Saturn. Saturn's going to be like, well, you shouldn't have fucked up in the first place. It's your bed, sleep in it, So, so that's the difference between, and that's why a lot of people think Saturn is bad. No, Saturn wants you to be fully accountable and responsible for your own energy, everything. And that's why Saturn also governs karma, So if you're not happy with your current condition, it's because the energy and the systems, the structure within your life is not supporting the higher ideals you wish you had. And so stop fucking wishing and get into, doing. So that's Saturn. That's the way Saturn talks, and so that's why Saturn rules the physical 3D plane, because everything in here takes, it's a thicker density. It's a lower density where things take a lot more effort to build structure and create. Whereas in the higher frequencies, we can just, imagine and go there, but, we're tethered in physical body. So, Yeah.
Feel ya. So Saturn ain't all evil, because a lot of people go to those extremes of like, what do you mean Saturn? The Saturn moon matrix, the black cube on Saturn, and it's controlling the entire matrix in our reality and all the satanic energy that it's pumping in here. And dude, if you like Saturn, you must be, satanic as well, right? And it's like, what? No, I just think Saturn's cool. I never got a bad feeling from it. It always felt like a force that I could work with, and I never felt punished by it. But the more I've learned about it in my life, I'm like, whoa, yeah, I've had good and bad Saturn. Oh yeah, it's I've got to have both of them. I guess it makes sense to me. Like,
Well, these
yeah,
planets are unconditional, just like magic,
yeah,
and so we can tap into the planets and use their energy for magic, either good magic or black magic. And so,
absolutely.
these global elites, they're master magicians, and they know how to access Saturn to use it for that black magic purpose. But you can also use Saturn for good. You can use if you're an individual where being disciplined in your life is hard, then you need to work with Saturn, and you need to not be afraid of it. But people are afraid to work with Saturn because it means being very real with yourself and having to show up. It means being less idealistic and wishy and more pessimistic and real about the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not fun. It's like, well, Saturn wants me to stop eating hot Cheetos and drinking coffee, but I don't want to do that. So
Right.
there's got to be another way that I can be healthy and happy. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Oh, I feel you. I feel you. I feel you,
So,
man.
so Chiron and the North Node are conjuncting right now, and so Chiron is the wounded healer, and it's in Aries, and Aries is the masculine energy. It's our ego. It's the warrior, And the
Yeah.
North Node represents the future. It's fated events. It's destiny. And so, on a collective scale, this is just like the cliff notes of it. But of course,
Yeah, that's all good.
it all goes far more deeper. But this month, with the North Node and Chiron coming together collectively, we are all moving into this massive spiritual cleanse of our ego and warrior spirit and the
Yeah.
masculine within everybody. Because over the last few decades, masculine energy has been heavily attacked. Oh, you're a toxic male. Oh, you're a toxic, this and that and
Right?
this and that. And to the
Oh god.
point where, like, in woke mainstream woke culture, there are men who are like, you know what, I'm going to be more feminine and be a supporter of my queer community and start just being a little bit more gay, whereas 10 years before, they were headbanging at a metal show, fucking fist
Right.
bumping,
Yeah.
so what happened? It's a spiritual attack on masculine energy. And so
There really is though, right? I just want to say I have noticed that. I mean everyone has within our own way, in our own world right now, but it is shocking to watch that unfold. It's a very, very strange thing, multi-leveled on so many, in so many ways, and leads into a whole bunch of other kind of gender distortion energy that's also just, which is a whole other talk. Maybe we won't do that here, but you know what I mean? It's crazy, right? It's crazy to see that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to reference another astrologer that I
Yeah.
love and admire, and his name is Christopher Witecki.
Okay.
And I love what he's saying about this month with Chiron and the North Node, because the nodes are the nodes of fate. The North and South Node, they govern past lives and future lives. And what he's saying about the North Node and Chiron conjuncting in Aries is we are all going to heal a massive jackass moment in our past life. So a moment when you were just a total fucking jackass that created massive karma through all your lifetimes. So like, let's say
Wait. So that's coming up. You're saying that's happening
this
now,
month, that's right now.
dude? You have no idea. That's so ridiculously, shockingly, disgustingly relevant for me. But I don't want to derail where you're going. Keep on going.
So I love the way he put it, because that's because Chiron's the wounded healer, and Aries, Chiron and Aries is shoot first, ask questions later. Aries is very self-centered. They're about what they want to accomplish, what they want to do. Aries is not aware of others. They're the initiator. So and with the North Node and the South Node in Libra, this is governing non-linear past and future lifetimes. So with the North Node conjuncting Aries right now, this is opening up an opportunity for us to do a very deep and profound healing of a moment within our soul's karma where we were a major jackass or a major asshole, So like, let's say, you were a platoon leader in a war or something like that, and everybody was like, we need to retreat, like we have to retreat, but you were so focused on what you wanted to do, and you were just like, no, fuck that, we're gonna charge, victory is ours. But then everyone died. You know what I mean? So it's like healing something like that, where you were just self-centered about your own thing and it caused damage and affected other people. Because everybody's got something in their soul within their past life where they've done something really fucked up.
Right. I've actually had an event. It's almost like you're really channeling. So maybe a lot of us have. So maybe that's a common thing. But in a lot of the trauma release and like past life work I've done, there was literally a massive lifetime in which I was a tyrannical military leader, and I just watched so many people die. And it was literally the lifetime of, you're going to jump on this train or I'm going to watch you die while we just roll off. And it doesn't matter to me. And it was like, in the work that I've done over this lifetime, since I've been, doing this work that I do now, it's a version of me that comes back time and time again. And it's this tyrannical, just horribly domineering, toxic. And it was literally a life that I had in Russia. If anyone wants to get super technical, I had a lot of lives in Russia. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. But dude, so accurate. I think a lot of us maybe have that life. But
what's crazy that you said that is, so your North Node in your birth chart is Libra, which means your South Node is Aries, and Shelley has the same North Node in Libra, South Node in Aries.
Okay, so what does that mean? Tell us.
So what people who are born with North Node in Libra, they've pretty much literally reincarnated after dying in the battlefield somewhere else.
Yeah, no, dude.
Yes. That's how, because Aries, the South Node is the past, and Aries is conflict and war and aggression. And so Libra is the North Node. So and the North Node is, and Libra is all about justice and fairness and balance. So it's likely people who are born with North Node and Libra that they died fighting in conflict for some type of cause, whether if it was a battle in law or a battle in actual war or something. They were fighting something very heavily. And so in this lifetime with the North Node in Libra, their focus, so they're still dealing with that angst, with that agitation of conflict, And so with the North Node in Libra,
definitely,
it's becoming aware of other people and how that anger and that energy can affect other people. So for people who have North Node in Libra, what they have to lean towards is becoming fair and just for all. So for you, part of your destiny that you have to lean into, your fate with the North Node in Libra, is holding an awareness of what's fair and just for people. And you've served that with doing the whole, fuck Corey Good, I'm gonna fucking, and also fuck this, everything else that's going on in this spiritual community. Like, this ain't right. I need to speak on this.
Yeah, it also kind of backfired on me. Truth be told, it wasn't the most lucrative or, a positive attention causing event, but really, I just want to say, I don't want to derail where you're going, but I actually have noticed that has been a major theme for me in this life. It's like I came in with this drive where I was like, I can't leave anyone behind anymore. Never again. Where it's like deep in your soul and you're like, I can't. No, we're not. That weird sort of where you realize you've internalized something and you don't know why it's so intense. So that makes a lot of sense, man. Really.
Yeah, it's wild. And I see someone said they have a North Node in Scorpio.
Oh yeah. So what happens there? Andromeda. What's up, dude?
So people who are born with North Node in Scorpio, that means your South Node is in Taurus. And when your North Node is in Scorpio, like, you're literally being born wearing all the baggage, like you're bringing all the luggage of your past lives into this lifetime, because the South Node is Taurus, and Taurus is fixed Earth. It's the bull, the most stubborn sign in the whole zodiac. It's very hardworking, reliable sign. But when
I
you're
like
South,
Taurus. I don't know why,
I
but I
love
guess
Taurus.
yeah.
Taurus is the most reliable energy there is. Steady,
Nice.
consistent, unmoving. You know what I mean? But in terms of South Node, and South Node meaning the accumulation of one's karma, people who have South Node in Taurus, they've lived a lot of lifetimes where they had to work very hard and be very self-reliant. So these are people who have lived a lot of lifetimes where the reality at the time was a lot harder, like the Great Depression, or they were living during a massive frostbite and there was famine going on, and they had to work very hard just to make sure they can grow a couple of turnips. You know what I mean? And so South Node Taurus people, they've had to be very self-reliant and work very hard. So they have a very strong inherent code and work ethic in the way that they do things. But because of that stubbornness, they bring a lot of the old baggage that they were dealing in that lifetime into this lifetime. And with the North Node in Scorpio, the way to correct the karma is to learn how to find the right people to trust. Because Scorpio inherently has trust issues. Scorpio inherently wants to control everything and is very manipulative and sly and sneaky and secretive. And so the North Node in Scorpio, there is this unconscious expectation that everybody is sneaky and backstabby, and it's hard to let people in on what you need to work on in your life, because they'll sabotage it. And so North Node Scorpio people, they have a superpower. They have a superpower where if they learn how to tap into it, North Node Scorpio people can tune into someone's intentions and figure out if the intentions are pure or not. And so North Node Scorpio people have to learn how to activate that, so they can only let in the right people in their lives. Because if they don't, then they bring in just anybody. And then what happens as a result is that experience tells them that they can't trust people, and they can't trust people to come into their lives to help them with their problems. And so North Node Scorpio people have to learn how to activate that ability so they can bring in only the right people. The other thing about North Node Scorpio people is they have an abundance of karmic resources. So if your North Node is in Scorpio, your South Node is in Taurus, you have an abundance of karmic natural resources, of energy karma. But that energetic abundance does not get activated unless you funnel it and sharing it for something that is not related to your own soul objective. So North Node Scorpio people are the type of people that where they do better off serving another kind of mission that's not their own. And when they do that, they're able to access a lot of karmic energy where that resources can funnel into it and produce something great on a collective scale. But first, they have to correct that karma and learning how to find the right people that they can trust.
Whoa. Can I ask you one more question about this? I'm sorry. I feel like I'm forcing you to like we'll just do a little bit more, but I noticed there's a bunch of people in the chat. We got Lakeside Laura, we got Queen Victor, and they're like, "Wait, what about North Node in Taurus?" So does that mean that they'd move past in their journey of incarnational cycles? They've moved past that weird kind of Scorpio phase of like the trust and all of those things that you're mentioning. How would that affect them with the North Node in Taurus?
Different. It's very, so if your North Node is in Taurus, it's very different. It means your South Node is in Scorpio. So South Node in Scorpio means may have lived lifetimes being heavily involved in secret societies, because Scorpio is the occult. Scorpio is the occult and what's hidden. So these are the Masons, the Illuminati, and light or dark. It's just hidden secret. The other thing, the more lower vibrations of having a South Node Scorpio is living many lifetimes where you were heavily obsessed to the point of insanity, where you had to control every single aspect of your life and other people's lives, which means you had a lot of secrets.
Mm,
Um,
wild.
but the superpower with having a South Node Scorpio is there's a wealth of private occult wisdom that your soul has that you can tap into. Having the North Node in Taurus is you have to, in this lifetime, you have to learn how to be consistent and reliable to produce something from that wealth of knowledge that your soul carries and not use it for manipulation and secrets.
Okay. Okay. Huh. Whoa, man. Yeah, no, thank you. This is incredible. Feel free to share anything else if there's anything important. I know we've had you here for a while. We'll probably just stay a couple more minutes, but anybody else in the chat, shout out any questions before we go. This is honestly, I just want to be real with you. I think, and I know you know this because we've had this talk, but it's like the manner in which you divulge and kind of, give everybody this info, I think seems to really hit people on a number of different levels all at the same time, because I'm watching the chat and I'm hearing it with them myself, and I'm like, there's so many just little pieces of all of these things that I think you're kind of tying together for us right now in terms of where we're going or just what's happening. And honestly, dude, it's deeply impressive. As a person that I think we met in like 2019, probably right before the stage where you had to go through all that weird shit with that girl, and for me at that stage, I was also like going through like this whole like, oh, I can't do this. Everyone hates me. Why are these people seem evil? And yet I somehow want to be here vibe, and it was like, there's been so much growth. I guess that's kind of where I'm going. It's like you will see the level to which people truly absorb this essence of yourself, and it's like information will flow effortlessly from you. And anyway, I'm kind of stumbling on my words now, but
No, I know. I love that you said that, man, because it's such a beautiful moment. Because when I knew I needed to go to your booth at Dimensions of Disclosure and connect with you, and I remember when I approached you, I was like, I have a drawing. I think I've been haunted by this demon. Can you help me with this? You know what I mean? And that's the point where, like, years later, we're like, yeah, fuck demons.
Actually, you know what? I do remember that encounter, and I remember meeting you, and I remember what I took from it just in our interaction was that there was a tremendous amount of intensity. It was just like, I remember you and I was like, yeah, he's really intense. It wasn't bad or good. I was just like, yeah, man, that guy went through something, because you came in and you're like, and it was just like very, and I guess for better or worse, I operate well with intense people. So it was like, yeah, okay, yeah, dude, I feel you. Yeah. It's like, it's easy for me to go there. So
we've both been in dumpsters for 8 hours, twacked out.
Right. No, really. It's like it will condition a certain piece of you to understand and learn how to interact with very intense energies. I think we need more of those type of people in our multidimensional community, because I'll just say this. I have no problem saying this publicly. I look at a lot of the leaders, a lot of the celebrities, a lot of the main speakers at, existing events, and I'm like, I'll just say it. I'll say it here publicly. That's some of the most diluted bullshit I've seen in years. And it's like you get these people that it's like your whole game, your whole story is portrayal. You are only portraying a thing. But we're living in a soul group right now where it's like you can't say that. You can't go up and say that, because then people are like, oh, well, you're just resentful and jealous, and you're this, and you're like, and sometimes we are. But every now and then there are some of us out there who will see it and go, oh, really? Really, and it's like we have to learn how to adjust and live with that stuff. And it's like, I don't know. I guess where I'm trying to go with this is that I am grateful there are real people within our soul group that we can turn to and bring into moments like this and go, can you just tell us what's really going on? And it's not that we have all the truth. It's not that, like, Mario's like the all-knowing, source, but it's like there are people that can give it to you in a real way. And they can give it to you in a way where you're like, okay, I understand. I realize what this means for me. Then I don't know. To me, those are the people that I choose to turn to, where it's like, it's not about a portrayal and a like, you get the idea, because I'll just spiral into it.
Oh,
But
no, I totally get it. And like That's what I try to tell people when I start sharing my story, because I had like some awesome mystical experiences and dreams where I'm like being activated and like where angels are coming or whatever. And I'm like, dude,
yeah.
I'm not a saint. Like, I'm not a saint and I'm not perfect. I cuss, I swear, I overeat. I'm like 50 pounds overweight right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm
Right.
a real fucking person, but I'm also multidimensional and I'm having these crazy ass epic experiences and I'm
Right.
learning. It's a fucking journey, you know what I mean? And so it's
That
like,
authenticity cannot be faked. That cannot be, no, for real, it cannot be faked. And
mhm,
yes, that authenticity will cause some to turn away from us. Yes, it will cause people to go, well, that one's not for me. But the reality is that's actually the best thing you can have, because it's like it helps you attract the ones that are for you. And
mhm.
that's been such a huge thing for me since I started this, man. Like, so much that I'm like, wow, I realize I just have to keep doing it now. We have to remain like this. It's like there's really no other way. And I guess that kind of leads me to maybe one other question. This will be our final question. I just want to get your comments on this. And um because you always write about it, you're constantly writing about it, and I know you and I have talked a little bit, and I'm like, yeah, dude, the dream realm is crazy, especially
Yeah.
when you stop smoking weed a little bit and it's like, oh man, how is it for you in there? What are you finding? What do you think's going on with this dream world? Because it is exploding right now for a lot of us. Shit's getting weird. Just tell us a little bit about, like, what do you feel about all this?
Yeah, it really is exploding. And the dreams have been very interesting lately. I,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
I've been having crazy dreams my whole life. I dreamt about COVID a year before it happened, you know? Um,
Really?
yeah. Because I write all my
Wait,
dreams.
yeah, and here, let me just say that will be the only time on our show that we'll say that word. AI yard dogs piss off. Anyway,
Mhm,
but yeah,
mhm. Oh my
go
God.
ahead.
I can't believe I went throughout this whole hour and a
It's
half.
okay. We're so good at keeping it under code words. It's just I have an irrational fear of, like, that moment where they're like, your channel's been I won't even say the words, but you know what I mean. Go ahead.
Mhm, mhm. I mean, again, like, I don't have the answers and I don't really know, but when I feel into it and from my own experiences, I think the dream world right now is very important because I like what it's been for me. It's where we're doing the subconscious work and forming the connections of like who we are on this grander scale and what we're doing here. And I feel like eventually dream world and our conscious world is going to like completely collide. And when that collide happens, then when we have those badass dreams in the dream state where we're like, pulling out lightsabers and fighting demons, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to become quite literal in the waking state where we are out here doing things. And I do feel like, more people are just going to naturally activate more supernatural abilities like telekinesis and telepathy and moving things with our mind. And I think the dream, like what we're experiencing with dreams, and as we are becoming more lucid, it's helping our brain form the neurological connections and how that actually works in the dream state, so we can start integrating it and remember how it felt to fly in your dream in the physical plane. You know what I mean? So I feel like we're like, that's kind of what's happening right now. And it's going to take, time for it to happen. And maybe some people will get it quicker. I think the younger generations are going to get it much more fucking quicker than us right now. But that's what it's been like for me. Oh, you're cut again.
Check, 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 check. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, whoa, weird. Okay, I just, you like, when you finally get like an expensive mic, and then you're like, dude, what? Like, I realize it's the little cord. Anyway,
Mhm.
no, it's been bizarre. It's been crazy, and I'll probably talk more about it on another live, so we don't take too much time. But it's funny that we talked about kind of demons or weird energy today, because I literally had a dream just a few days ago. One of those moments in the dream world where all of a sudden it becomes so real, hyper real. And
Yeah.
then it's like, you're in the lucid state. You're like, okay, I'm in the dream. And then for me, this thing happens where it's like, I'm not one of those lucid dreamers where suddenly I'm flying and now I'm going to the good, galactic council. It's like, I'll still be in that realm. I'm still there knowing I'm dreaming. And it's like, I'm walking through this field of trees and like, I was just get this feeling of fear come over me. And I'm like, oh shit, I have to go through here. And sure enough, out of the trees comes this little goblin looking demon being on a bicycle, He rides by on a bicycle, and I'm like, what? He cruises right in front of me. He does this like drive-by thing, and I was like, what the? And it was, it wasn't a moment of attack. It was just like, it was like they're saying, you're in this realm. This is our world. What are you doing on my street?
Yeah.
He just looked at me, and it was just one of those things that it stuck with me. That was like almost like a week ago now, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
What was that, dude? And so it's just getting weird and real. And I know a lot of other people are having that. So
that's what you work on, with implant removals and entity attachments. Like that's in that dream world. Maybe that's more of like what you're connecting to and expanding your awareness on locating where these things, may originate from and something. I don't know. Maybe.
No, that actually makes a lot of sense. And they say that, when our consciousness does, and somebody even said in the chat, what's up, Doya? And he was like, when we do truly merge our energy into, that fourth dimensional shared astral space. And I know this is a dynamic that many of us have encountered. It's like, yes, you're really there. And because you're really there, everyone else can see you too. And for those that understand fourth density, all is known, all is available, nothing is hidden. The polarity of every being is easily read and known by everyone that we come in contact. Everyone knows if you're good or bad, light or dark. There's no misunderstanding. And when you step into that real fourth density realm, it's like, well, now we're here and you guys are here too. And it's like, yeah, it's just, it's real shit, man. Real shit. And anyway, yeah. The dream world is a wild one, but
well, for the next time we talk, I'm gonna just put it out there so we don't forget. I really want to talk about the J seals.
Oh, we certainly will. We'll do this again next month or in the coming weeks, and so.
Yeah, let's do it.
But anyway, thank you for hanging out with us. I mean it, Mario. Every single time you will roll through this channel, there is like some sort of, it's like these little downloads or these like aha moments, or especially for me, and I know a lot of other people. And I'll just say it. I know it's cheesy, but it's like, really, dude, you're really following. It's like you're really on the timeline. Like you're truly a real example of people that walk through that like weird world of darkness and have to step out and go, now I realize that was for a reason, and it's because I'm going to do this. And you'll see them at a stage because suddenly they'll take off and their life will change and they start doing this work. And we've had a lot of people in the chat here today like that, like another guy who I'm just going to mention him, Doyen. I see you out here in the chat. One of the only people in this world who I will go to for energy work. I'm saying this at the end of the show because I want him to come on our show. But you know what I mean? You will start to run into those people and you will find other people that are real where you're like, dude, I reckon, yep. And you'll just be like, yep, that's a real one. That's a real one. And anyway, thanks for being a real one, dude. Yeah. And so tell us where they can find you. And I guess tell us when you're going to do a astrology class.
Last night I was getting the downloads to make a astrology book, just like a really easy textbook to help people integrate how to understand the basics the way that I taught myself. So I want to basically make the blueprint and how I taught myself for everybody to teach themselves. And it's going to be nice. It's going to be like if you were in elementary school and you were learning how to write your ABCs. And
actually, that's kind of what I need.
You got to trace over the dots, Like I want to make a book that's exactly like that, where you're in elementary school learning how to trace the dots and how to draw the symbol for Aries and the symbol for Taurus and all that.
I genuinely need that. A lot of us do. Everyone knows I'm the least astrological professional psychic in the world. And it's just because, I've never taken the time. I pray you do a class. And I don't want to cut you off, but please do a class.
I need to. But like how I said, 2023, the whole year was unstable. We were literally moving for the whole fucking year. Now we're grounded. We're at home base. Routine is getting sorted out. Health and wellness is coming back. Like Shelly and I, we've been fucking exhausted because it took us a whole year of energy work to finally get to this point. So we've just kind of been, not trying too hard to be overachievers, but slowing it down, but replenishing ourselves. So class is coming for 2024. I need to get started on some books. Salsa is going to come back on the store, on the online store. Cool. I make salsa. So my website is starseedsalsa.com. My Instagram is the Blu-ray Bodhisattva, and then you can find me on Facebook as Mario Mijares. And yeah, reach out, book a reading. My email is starseedsalsa@gmail.com. And I love hanging out with you and talking.
Thanks, man.
It's great.
Hey, man, you too. I appreciate you coming through. And for everybody else out there, thanks for hanging out. Please do check out Starseed Salsa. I have definitely had a reading with Mario. I know a lot of other people around here have. I think it's something that's going to continue. And I know it's a thing that a lot of us are stepping into. There's a lot of good people coming online. And I think if there's one thing that we know about you is you're not going to bullshit anybody.
No.
You know what I mean? He's going to tell it like it is. And it's like, I think we just need more and more people like that. So in the meantime, you guys check him out at Starseed Salsa. You can also please hit the like button before you leave. Say a little prayer that we can break through our fake algorithmic cap that keeps us stuck at, whatever number of subscribers we have. So maybe